friends, my name is Dasha. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the first ever round of A Game of Tomes. This is my brand spanking new TBR game. I am so excited to show it off to y'all. We're gonna go through the whole board, we're gonna go through the cards, the rules, all of that fun stuff, and then we're gonna pick April's TBR. So listen, I know this trend has been really popular on BookTube the last year and a half. I originally watched Becca from Becca and the Books do her Bookopoly, and that's what kind of got me really into these TBR games. And then of course people followed her, like Jade from JD Reads, and then like Cody from Cody's Book Corner, Maddie from Book Browsing Blog. All these people followed suit, and they absolutely deserve credit for kind of popularizing this and absolutely inspiring me. But when I was thinking about maybe making one, I knew that I didn't really want to do an existing game. I feel like a lot of people had already done them, and I think most of the good ones were already taken. So I was kind of back and forth, and then I saw G from Book Roast create her TBR avatar, which I thought was brilliant. She put so much effort into it, and I knew that I really liked the idea of having a themed game around a fandom that means a lot to me. So I picked A Song of Ice and Fire. So to give credit where credit is due, absolutely, G from Book Roast completely inspired me, and I think she is incredible. My game is not really like hers. It's a bit of an amalgamation of different games. I created completely new rules for myself. There's like 4 different types of cards, there's all these different spots and rules, so we're gonna get on into it, but I just wanted to kind of give credit where credit is due to the incredible woman that came before me and created these crazy, super fun games that I love to follow along with every single month. I also want to give credit to Ray from Bookmark Chronicles. She is the one that came up with the name A Game of Tomes. I think it is brilliant. I think she is brilliant. She kind of helped a lot along the way. Same with Robin from Robin Reads. They've both been super helpful along the way, and I couldn't have done this without them, so thank you, ladies. Let's get in to the board and the rules. So this is the board. We're gonna lay you down so you can see a little bit better, but basically what's happening here is that it is a pretty standard game board in the sense that there is a start, there is a finish, and the goal is to get to the end. What's gonna happen at the end is I'm going to treat myself at the bookstore and get a shit ton of books. Now, here's a caveat. I'm not going on a book buying ban. I pick up books at Value Village for cheap. I like going and picking up whatever I find, and I feel like limiting myself to not buying books at all is not really possible. However, I am quite good at using the library a lot and using Scribd a lot, so I don't buy like a ton of books, but getting to the end would mean that I get to do like a big shopping spree, which would be really, really fun. The goal is to get to the end. I basically thought it might be fun to be like, it's the race for the Iron Throne, because you know, it is A Game of Tomes. And as you can see, all the spaces are inspired by things from the A Song of Ice and Fire series, as are the cards, and we will go through those, but I really wanted to theme it, so I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. So I will be moving on this board every single month, rolling, moving up, and doing what the prompts tell me to do and picking my TBR based off this. So we're gonna go through all of these spaces and what they mean. So starting with the spots that correspond to cards, I'll go through all of those first. So if we look here, first one here is what I call a character space. Those correspond with my character cards. So each of these are related to a character in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. So for example, this top one here is called Drogo, and the prompt is read a book with a sun, moon, or stars in the title or on the cover. And then we have a quote from him here, the moon of my life, because that is what he called Danny. The goal of this was just to be able to, you know, have my favorite characters in the game and also find a prompt that corresponded with them. So whenever I land on a character space, that is what I will be pulling from. These are just general prompts that have to do with any kind of book. Some of them are more physical, so like this one had to do with like the cover. Some of them are related to the length of the book or to the genre of the book or to the type of character featured in the book. So completely random. There's about 42 of them here. So that is what the character cards are. So next we have location. So these are the location cards. They correspond to iconic locations that are featured in A Song of Ice and Fire. So for example, this first one here the Erie, and it's read a book from your Apple Books. So every single one of the prompts for location, it differs from characters, and that character cards are more wide varying, I guess. So those can correspond to any book I can borrow through the library or Scribd. Location cards directly correspond to my owned TBR. I can only pick a book that I physically own or on ebooks, as you just saw, to go for this prompt. So all the prompts in here are kind of vague enough so that I would pretty much always have a book that would fit the prompt here. So it either has to do with size like earlier, or maybe the content of the book. I almost always have something that would correspond to something in here. That was kind of the goal of making these prompts. So yeah, these are to get my own TBR down. The next spot over is this one here, and that is a Raven card. So in the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, ravens carry news, and there's a saying associated with them that dark wings bring dark words. So I thought I would make all of these kind of more negative prompts, so prompts that are not necessarily fun. So for example, first one here, add another role. So I thought it would be fun to add some more negative prompts. There's not a ton of them on the board, as you can see, but I thought it might be fun to have some kind of chaos. After all, the world of A Song of Ice and Fire is pretty dark, so we gotta, you know, make it a little dangerous to traipse around this board. The final card spot are these battle spots. So what these correspond to are the battle cards. I have a lot less of these, as you can see, because these were really hard to figure out. But basically what they are is that they are prompts that are kind of dependent on what you read or how much you like a book. And they basically determine whether you move up in some of those spots or you move back. And they're kind of really chaotic. I wanted to add some kind of element of unpredictability to this game, so I'll show one off. So this one is random YouTube pick. So I go to my YouTube subscription feed, I click on the first video I see, and I pick a book from that video. And then based on whether I liked it or not, I move up or move back. And obviously, this book would be added to my monthly TBR. So the next month, depending on how I felt about it, I would move accordingly. Like I said, I wanted to bring an element of like unpredictability and chaos, kind of like real battles. So that was the idea behind these. And I'm really excited to use these. They took a long time to think of, so I'm really excited to see these in action. Hopefully I don't get them too often because they really are chaotic, but we'll see. The next type of space you probably see the most of are these little shields, and each of these correspond with a house. So I'll go through them and we'll describe what they all mean, but basically every single house is associated with a genre. So whenever I land on one of those spaces, I don't have to pick any kind of prompt. I can just go with whatever that genre is. So starting off here, we have Tyrell. House Tyrell corresponds to nonfiction. Lannister corresponds to thriller or horror or mystery. House Baratheon is classics. Then we have House Tully, which I will explain in a minute. House Targaryen is fantasy. House Stark is actually rereads, so if I need to reread a book or I just was in the mood for a reread, I can pick a book for that. House Martell is a free pick. It is basically a wild card. I get to pick any book I want for that. And then finally, House Greyjoy is science fiction. So seeing as House Tully was the only one that did not actually have a genre, that is because it corresponds to this little jar. So I initially thought that I would make House Tully my kind of other like genres I don't read as often from. However, I truly really stick to mainly the genres that are like represented here. So I thought I would add prompts continuously to this little jar. And if I land on House Tully, I would pick out of it. Obviously, as I went along making this game, there were prompts I couldn't quite fit in, or prompts that I forgot, or prompts that I only thought of like much later. So I thought this would be a good way to incorporate those and still have the possibility of picking those. So there's things like books for secret TBR in this little jar, or pick a book for a buddy read or a read along. So that kind of stuff is in here. Obviously the houses are a really big part of a Game of Thrones, so I wanted to represent them, but the majority of the game does have to do with the cards and like crazy random prompts that are not necessarily the easiest to always fulfill. So that is why there's not like a ton of them, but I still wanted them to be represented in the game. The final two spots I'm gonna go over are the only two unique spots on the board. So if you look up here, this spot is like a little bag of money. That means I can go on a book haul before I get to the end. And I think I'm gonna use that space for buying books that I've already read so I don't add to my own TBR, but it still gives me that serotonin of buying books, you know? And then the other space like that is this one here. So since this is supposed to be like the journey to the Iron Throne, this basically means that I get a ship. If I land on here, I get to move up. And it just basically gets me a little bit closer to the finish line. So that is the board. So there you have the board and the cards. We've kind of gone over all of that. A few last things. So as of right now, I think I'll be rolling 5 times a month. It's kind of a good number to get me started. If I find that I'm reading like a ton more than that a month, I will obviously bump that number up, but for now it seems kind of good. If I do not complete my previous month's TBR, I don't have a punishment yet. I don't know if I want one, but if I think of one, I absolutely will update it. I don't know yet. Or maybe the books just carry over. I think that would probably be the best solution. I will think of it depending on if I have any punishments. Hopefully I won't. I don't know how April's gonna go. I don't know what I'm gonna get. So we're gonna roll for April and see. I think that's it. So let's get into my April rolls. All right, time for roll number 1. 5. Oh wow, we're starting off with a negative prompt. What is this? Oh, great. Read an intimidating book. We're starting off really well, aren't we? So our first prompt was a Raven card, and it's read an intimidating book. But that's okay, because I got a good pick, and that's Dune by Frank Herbert. Listen, this sci-fi has been everywhere lately because of the movie that's coming out, but it's also been popular for a really long time, and that always makes it a little bit scary because I'm like, what if I'm that one person that hates this book? I don't know the plot of this. I don't know anything about this. I just know that it's super popular sci-fi, and that makes it really fucking scary. I don't read that much sci-fi as it is. Like, I like sci-fi, but I always gravitate more to fantasy when it comes to picking between the two. So I'm worried that also like my pea brain will not understand what's happening in here. But yeah, this is my pick for intimidating read. All right, time for roll number 2. 1, 2, and we have landed on House Baratheon, which is read a classic. So for roll number 2, I landed on the Baratheon house space, and that is read a classic, so I'm going to finally finish the Count of Monte Cristo. Hold me accountable. I need to finish this. It's not that hard to finish. I have it divided into sections. Listen, if I read like each section a week, I should be able to get through it in the month of April. So I need to just buckle down and do it, because this is stopping me from reading so many other books, because I'm like, no, I already have a classic on the go. Stop it. Get some help. Read Count of Monte Cristo, you dumb bitch. So that is my pick for the classic prompt. Roll number 3. Oh shit. And that is a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 character card. The Maesters. There are some who call my order the Knights of the Mind. So for this one, I have to use a random word generator and find a book that fits the word. Oh god, that could go any way, really. So roll number 3, we got a character card and we got the Maesters. So the prompt for the Maesters is to use a random word generator and find a book that fulfills that word the best you can. Either it's in the title or in the premise or the vibes, whatever it is, I'm gonna have to figure this out. So I am like really nervous to see what happens. So we've got our random word generator. All right. Arrow. That could be pretty easy. Well, that worked out entirely too well. For the prompt Arrow, I'm going to read Dance with Dragons, the 5th and last currently published book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I was hoping to wrap the series up in April. I just didn't quite know if I could fit it in because I had like a ton of other books I wanted to read this month, but there are arrows in this. What a fitting book for the first month of A Game of Tomes. The universe sometimes works in incredible ways. So yeah, this is the final currently published book. I have been slowly making my way through the whole series, and this is the only one left. So once this is done, I am caught up and I can go full steam ahead on new fantasy series. So this is like fantastic. All right, roll number 4. That is a 2. Oh my gosh, we already got a battle card. Rate your last read. Was it 4 or 5 stars, 3 stars, 1 or 2 stars? What did I read last? All right, so the last book I finished was Are Prisons Obsolete by Angela Davis, and that was a 5-star read. So I get to move up 4. Moving up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, roll number 4, round 2. 1. Oh, perfect location card. Westeros, wild card. Oh, fuck yeah. Okay. So every single deck actually has one of these. It basically means I get to pick any book. There's no prompt. I get to pick whatever I want. So this worked out so great this month. So after that, I rolled again and I got a location card, and it's a wild card, which works out great because I have some books to read for school for a final paper. So I'm gonna shoehorn those in there. I have The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. This is a nonfiction about the mass incarceration issues in the US. I am currently writing a paper on racial capitalism and prison abolition, and this is going to be an invaluable resource. So I'm going to use this as my wild card and get a school book in there. My mind, it's just incredible. All right, and roll number 5. That is a 4. And we get another character card. Sir Loras. Sir Loras might be as pretty as a maiden's dream, but underneath his white cloak, he was Tyrell to the bone. So for this one, I have to go to a random number generator and pick a book for my nonfiction TBR based on that number. So I'm gonna go to Goodreads and figure out what that is. And then our final roll got us another character card, and we have Sir Loras, which is a random number generator according to my nonfiction TBR. So I'm gonna come around and we're gonna do that. So my nonfiction TBR has 124 books. So we're gonna go to random number generator, max 124. Oh, this is gonna suck. 52. And we're gonna go by, I don't know if it's date added or if we're gonna go by title. Yeah, we're gonna go by title. Alright, so I just borrowed from the library, Humans, A Brief History of How We Fucked It All Up by Tom Phillips. So, not gonna lie, the title of this book is really what kind of pulled me in and put this on my TBR, but as far as I know, it's just like a very precise history of human fuck-ups and like really stupid situations that humans have gotten themselves into through history to kind of make ourselves feel better today about how dumb we are. I think that's what it is. I might be completely wrong, but based on like the quick overview of the synopsis, it just looks like a humorous book. It looks like a great little history, but also a bit of like anthropology, and I'm always here for that. So I am somewhat excited for that. I didn't expect to be reading that so soon, but like, I'm not mad about it. Hopefully it's fairly short. So here's my scary stack of books for April. -1 because I'm borrowing that one from the library. Honestly, I'm pretty glad that I managed to get a lot of these books from my own TBR. It is making me feel a little bit better about whittling down this massive number of books that I have that I should get to. So there we go. We got The County Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. We got Dune by Frank Herbert, The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, and A Dance with Dragons by George R. R. Martin. And of course, Humans, A Brief History of How We All Fucked It Up by Tom Phillips. I am so glad with how this went. Everything is just like working perfectly. It is so much fun. I can't wait to keep playing this every month and pick my TBR. I am so glad you guys joined me today. If you want to, you can come talk to me on my social media. It is linked down below. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!